do an introduction at the end, so we don't have to do that right now. But Lou Riccio, welcome. Thanks for coming on. It's good to see you.
Great to
I
see you,
haven't.
Tim.
I mean, it's been a long time.
It's been a while, so
Yeah.
it's great to see you.
You look better than ever.
Well, I had hair. I think I had hair last time we saw each other.
No, I think you were pretending to have hair.
Yeah, it's one way of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lou, I just would like to hear how you became an engineer, how you got into the USGA, how you and I met, and just kind of your journey to where you are now. In 5 minutes more, then we'll talk about some other stuff.
Well, it's going to take me a while to go through all that.
Oh, we got plenty of time. I'm in no
What
hurry.
did Winston Churchill say when Winston Churchill was asked to give a speech? He said, "I'd be delighted. If you want me to talk for 2 hours, I could do that right now. If you want me to talk for 10 minutes, it'll take me weeks to prepare." So here we go. I'm just going to get rolling. I hope the people listening in
Yeah, I promise you.
will stay awake for it. But I grew up. I grew up in Connecticut at a time when Sputnik scared America, and I was good in math and science. So, and every corporate executive in America back in the 1950s was an engineer. So it was pretty clear that the smart thing would be to get an engineering degree, which I did. I got a bachelor's, master's, and eventually a PhD. Uh, Along the way, when I finally got my PhD, I decided to have some fun, and I wasn't sure what to do. And a friend of mine said, "Well, there's a sale on golf clubs." And I had learned golf when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, and that from my father and brothers. But I had stopped playing. So I went out and got a set of golf clubs and quickly became addicted and would play 3 or 4 times a week. I was a single guy, bachelor. I had the opportunity to come to New York City to work for Mayor John Lindsay on law enforcement issues. So I worked with the police department and the court system and built up a bit of a reputation for applying engineering and management techniques to government problems. Ended up moving down to Washington to work at a place called the Police Foundation, which was a Foundation funded research institute trying to help police agencies do a better job. So I was working all over the country. But Washington, D.C. is a very nice place to live to play golf. It's very easy to get it in and out of town and get to play golf. So I was playing golf regularly. A friend at work, Cappy Gagnon, a true Notre Damer, you'll hear his name again in this talk, um, asked to play along with me. And I lived in downtown Washington, and he lived across the river in Virginia. So he would just leave his clubs in my car. We would drive and go play. I would drop him off on the way home, drop him off, keep the clubs, and we would play. And so then a couple other people wanted to play. And so we created a thing called the Police Foundation Golf League, which was a bunch of duffers like us. And we played 9 hole matches during the week, and I played 18-hole matches on the weekends. And Cappy looked at me and said, "Lou, you're the engineer. You're going to do the handicaps." I said, "Okay, I guess that's okay." So I had to learn the USGA handicapping system, and I kept track of all the scores. The funny thing is, we would have tournaments, and the tournaments were match play. So the scores were 3-2 and 2-1. Nobody knew how badly we really played. And in those days, Washington, D.C. was a smaller town. I would call up the Washington Post and give them our scores. And so on Monday morning, one time they published the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, and the Police Foundation Golf League scores. As if I guess they assumed we were some sort of police officials, a group of police officials. But it took us till Wednesday to stop laughing. Um, but anyway, I did the handicapping, and I discovered that The USGA handicapping system had some mathematical weaknesses. And now the USGA is a wonderful organization founded to run the amateur national championships. And along the way, they also ran the open championships. Um, and they obviously keep track, they do the rules, and they have a lot of influence, as in your business, the turf. They have a lot of influence in there, but they didn't really put a lot of effort over the decades into handicapping. So there were some weaknesses. So what does a researcher do when he discovers some weaknesses in the world? He writes research proposals. So I wrote two research proposals and sent them to the USGA, dear sirs. And, who knows? This was 1978 or so. Okay. And I said, I think you should take into account the fact that the course rating system doesn't use a lot of the different difficulty factors that are associated with golf courses. And I had a whole mathematical procedure, which eventually became the slope system. Well, I sent it and I didn't expect anything back. I get a 4-page handwritten note from the vice president of the Minnesota National Bank, who was on the USGA executive committee, Joe Ewan, saying how much he enjoyed reading my proposals. There are a couple of people in California. It turns out one fella, Klein Soley, actually invented the slope system 10 years before I did. Um, he said there's some people in California who have the same idea. Of course, we know the people in California, they're all crazy. But when a guy on the East Coast, place, especially at a place called the Police Foundation, with an engineering degree, sends in a note like this, they said, we're going to have to pay attention. So they formed in 1979, they invited me to be an initial member, an original member of the handicap research team. And we then spent several years developing the slope system, which changed the way handicapping is done. Now we have the world handicapping system. By the way, let me just tell you another story, if I may. That fella, Cappy Gagnon, uh, I used to drive him home, but sometimes he asked to be dropped off. This was 1977 at a fellow's house who had started a new organization, and they were looking for people to stuff envelopes. And that organization was the Society for American Baseball Research. And Cappy ended up being president of the Society for American Baseball Research. So sabermetrics, if you follow baseball at all, some of your listeners might follow baseball, but Cappy was a great guy. Ended up being, he was a Notre Dame guy. He kept writing books about Notre Dame athletes. It finally ended up being hired by Notre Dame to be director of security for Notre Dame athletics. And so he called me up one time and he said, Lou, they make me go to the football games. You know, it was really, it was his dream.
What a
So
tough
anyway, I
deal.
got involved. That's how in the USG I got involved with golf that way, through the handicap. They've been wonderful uh, over the decades, and we had wonderful meetings and discussions about handicapping. At the same time, I invented a stroke by stroke golf analysis for the individual golfer back in the 1970s on a mainframe at George Washington University. I wrote a program to analyze every aspect of a golfer's game, became the golf analyzer. I sold it as software back in the 1980s, but the world wasn't ready yet for, I mean, the PCs had just come out. Now there's several people doing stroke by stroke uh, golf analysis, but I invented it back in the 1970s. So I've been involved in golf for what, almost 50 years now. And I wish I could say my game is any good, but I can talk a pretty good game anyway. So you asked about pace of play. Shall I talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I know you were involved in that, and if I remember, when we talked about it
Well,
before.
here's the fact: is anybody who picks up a set of golf clubs is involved in pace of play. There's, it's the number one concern of golfers. I mean, the overwhelming majority of golfers are out to have fun, casual rounds. I mean, there's some people you could be very serious about golf and very competitive, but most golfers are out to enjoy themselves. But the one thing that's not enjoyable is taking 5 or 6 hours and waiting around on every shot. Really spoils the beauty of the game. So I've always been concerned with it. Tim, as you know, I was transportation commissioner in New York City back 30 some odd years ago. And it dawned on me that, you know, a golf course is like a highway. You know, you're trying to move cars along or trying to move people along. It's like a one lane highway. And so there are real similarities. And so I wrote a couple articles, but in the early O's, I really got serious because I remember one time I was at Bethpage Black and I came to the 12th tee and there were four groups waiting. And I just walked off the course. It had already been 3 hours or so, and I'm on the 12th tee, and there's four groups waiting. I said, I got to do something about this. This is crazy. So I went back to, I was teaching at Columbia University by then, and I had my students working, my engineering students. We did simulations of golf courses, and and I wrote a paper called "The Golf Course as a Factory." I mean, the golf course is a factory, and what you're producing is foursomes, completed 18 hole round foursomes. And each hole is a step in the factory operation. So, how do you get as many people through that factory, and how do you make it as enjoyable as possible by reducing the waiting time? Was my objective. So, I wrote a couple papers, caught people's attention. I wrote a book called Golf's Pace of Play Bible. It's available on Amazon for a few bucks. Very modestly named, as you can see, Golf's Pace of Play Bible. Uh, and I lay out the rules of what causes slow play. There's fundamentally three sets of factors that cause slow play. Most people believe that slow play is due to the group ahead of them, that the group ahead of them is the cause of all their problems. Well, individual player factors can be a problem if people don't move to their own ball, don't move at a rapid pace, aren't ready to hit when it's their turn, hit the ball in the rough and then spend 10 minutes looking for it, and line up putts as if the putt is for the British Open Championship. Spend 2 minutes looking at it from every direction. Yeah, there's a lot of bad behaviors, but there's also management issues. What do I mean by management issues? Tee intervals. Tee intervals are critical. If your golf course puts out foursomes every 8 minutes, you're going to have a 5 hour, 4.5, 5 hour round. As I always say, that if everybody on the Cross Bronx was in a Ferrari, you'd still only go 10 miles an hour. You know, because there's too many. So you stuff, and the people who study factories know that you stuff too much stuff in the factory and nothing comes out.
Right.
And then the third, and by the way, that is the primary problem at most public golf courses, is they're trying to stuff too many people onto the golf course. And then there's the third factor, which you're involved in, which is the golf course itself. How do you set up the golf course so that people can enjoy it, have a challenge? Golf is all about personal challenge, but so that the golf course is in the right condition, has the right fairway width, maybe the rough's not too deep, You want the course to be in wonderful condition. I've tried to get the USGA to slow the greens down, putting surfaces down at the US Open as a leadership position. There's no reason why any golf course should have green speeds at 13 or 14. They should be 10, maybe less. Otherwise, you get lots of people on the just waiting and waiting and waiting while everybody puts out very three putt. Lee Trevino, when Lee Trevino would play with amateurs, Lee Trevino would play with amateurs, and they'd line up a putt, and it would drive him crazy. So he used to tell them, "Miss it quick."
Right.
You know, you're going to miss the putt anyway. So why are you spending all this time? But anything you could do with the work that you do to make the golf course better will help pace of play, as long as management understands their obligation, and perhaps people will then pay attention and move along.
What do you see that the greenskeepers are doing to slow it down or speed it up? Are there certain things that you can do as you manage and maintain these properties? Or
So first off, you're you have a set golf course. Unless you're talking to the architect about moving bunkers around or something, you got a set golf course.
yeah,
So the golf course superintendent, as I said earlier, the, the putting surfaces are critical. Now, why do I say that? Well, when you're out playing golf, you can wait for the group ahead of you while you're on the tee. If the group in the fairway doesn't get out of the way, you have to wait on the tee. If you're in the fairway and there's a group on the green, you have to wait until the group gets off the green, right?
right, right, right.
But when you're on the putting surface, there ain't nobody in your way. You're the only group that sets the pace for your group. There is nobody in your way. Clearing the putting surfaces in 3 minutes. If your group can clear, once everybody's on the green, you want to clear the putting surface in 3 minutes. And that opens up the whole hole behind you for the group in the fairway and the group on the tee. So that's why I always argue that the putting surface, a healthy putting surface that's well maintained, like the work that you do, um, can be cut to 10 or less on the stimp meter and still get a true roll. The whole purpose of cutting it closer was not to get the green speeds faster, it was to get a true roll. The USGA wanted the US Open so that the putting surfaces had a true roll, so the pros could be identified, the best pros could be identified. And all of a sudden, speed became a mission of its own. And that's not if you can, through agronomy, through good, healthy turf, have a putting surface that's built properly at 8, the British do it, at 8 on the stimp meter, people will play quicker and they'll be happier because they'll enjoy. I mean, it's torture to stand over a 2.5 foot putt and not know whether it's going to slip off the course. Remember, Sam Snead said at one U.S. Open, the greens were so slick he was afraid to put his dime down that it might slip off the green, to mark his ball. Um, so, what the superintendent? By the way, superintendents are just wonderful. What they
You're right,
do,
for
and they
sure.
never get it. And they never get. I teach operations management, and I always tell my students, the only time anybody says anything nice, says anything about operations management, is when there's a screw up. But if you're doing the job right, people just say that's nice. They don't say anything. They just keep going. And the superintendents almost invariably do a superb job of maintaining the playing environment for us duffers, even though we kind of destroy the course when we're out there. And the work that you do to help superintendents is essential. That turf is the golf course. People don't know this, but the term green is the golf course. The term green fees. It's not greens fees. It's green fee. It's the golf course is the green, and you pay to get on the green. So, what the superintendents do to keep it playable in the way we really enjoy it, I mean, it's astounding how good. For example, like I mentioned, Beth Page. So I've been playing Beth Page. I play all the courses there now. But of course, I would love to play the black course. I can't really play it anymore. I'm too old to get around there. But I remember when the course was in terrible condition. Terrible condition. There was no money being put into the golf course. It was still just a fabulous layout, a Tillinghast layout, and a lot of fun to play. But the course was in horror. You had to roll it over in the fairway. Matter of fact, I officiated at the Ivy League Championship. This is a major college Division One championship, and they played their championship at Bethpage Black, and they
Oh yeah.
played roll it over in the fairway. I mean, can you imagine? The Big Ten playing their golf tournaments and roll it over. I mean, other than in a rainstorm kind of situation, but this is no matter of fact. There's some kid from Cornell who probably still hates me, but I made a ruling on him because this was 25 years ago. You could roll it over in the fairway, but not the rough. And I had to walk back 50 yards to see whether he was in there. I mean, there was almost nothing to distinguish the rough from the fairway. And I ruled that he was in the rough and he couldn't move the ball, and the ball had a little tuft of dirt or something behind his ball, and he chunked the shot. I'm sure. I'm sure he's still. If you're watching this podcast, I apologize, but I had to stick to the rules. So, but anyway, well, what's my point? My point is the USGA finally realized that what a jewel the Bethpage layout was, and they came in with agronomists, and now it's just spectacular. It's absolutely spectacular, and it makes all the difference in the world. Now you can
Yeah.
enjoy a game of golf. You play quicker because you're not dealing with course conditions,
Right.
uh, and and it's just so much more enjoyable. I mean, that's why. Why do we play? We play for the enjoyment of being out in the fresh air and hitting a good shot every once in a while.
So you think slowing the greens down speeds up play?
I estimate that every inch on the stimp meter adds at least 10 minutes, and that's a unscientific observation. I can't. I can't show you the analysis. I did a study. Actually, my 345 golf website has my all my research, but unfortunately, it's down right now. I got to get it up working again. But I should send it all to you, and you can put it on your website. I
Yeah,
did a study of
absolutely.
170 golf courses in the country. The average time to play around the golf in America is 4 hours, 17 minutes, and 23 seconds. Okay, which is not terribly different than it's been over the decades. But here's an interesting, if I may, interesting fact from that study. Um, the first round of the day for all golf courses, 3 hours and 45 minutes. The average round for all golf, 4 hours and 17 minutes. So that means about 32 minutes of time is spent waiting for the group ahead of you to clear either the fairway or the putting surface. Uh, we could save a half hour if we could manage golfers around the golf course better. I mean, if you calculate, by the way, if you figure you walk at 3 miles an hour, you walk about, I think, about 4 miles around the golf. So what's that? That's about 80 minutes of walking. Let's say you take 100 shots and around and 45 seconds a shot. So that's what, 75 minutes. So that's 155 minutes or 2 hours and 35 minutes. So if you go out to play and there's nobody out there, I know H.W. Bush used to play in an hour and a half or so, but he would run. I'm not saying running, you know, but he was my hero, H.W. Bush. Uh, if he was around, he would make him an award or something. But so if there's nobody in your way and you go out to play, you shouldn't play in more than 2 hours and 35 minutes. So from 2 hours and 35 minutes to 3 hours and 45 minutes, the the average for the first round of the day. Now, why do I say the first round of the day? Because that's unimpeded. There's nobody blocking you. If you're the first group off
Right.
the tee, there's nobody blocking you. So 3 hours and 45 minutes is the way of is a good pace for a foursome. If 2 hours and 35 minutes to 2 hours and 45, that's an hour and 10 minutes. That's the time you wait for other people in your group to play. You're standing on the tee while other people are teeing off. The three other people are teeing off, and you're standing in the fairway waiting for the other three to hit, and you're standing on the putting surface while the other three are putting. Then you add a half hour to that, and you have 4 hours and 17 minutes. Now, if you add into that 8 minute tee intervals, you're up to 4.5 to 5 hour rounds. No matter, even if you have the fastest H.W. Bush playing with you. So, not only did I write the book, uh, but I got a call one time about 10 years ago. I wrote the book about 10 years ago. I get a call from a gentleman, not terribly unlike you, Tim, an entrepreneur in Boston. He was in the tech business, and he told me how much he enjoyed reading my book. He was coming to New York. He wanted to buy me breakfast. Well, I'll have if somebody wants to buy me breakfast, I'm pretty, sure, and a nice hotel breakfast. Who's going to pass that up?
Right.
So we had breakfast and we hit it off right away. Dave Van Slet is his name. We hit it off right away. We had a great conversation. At the end of the conversation, he said, "Lou, I like your ideas. I want to build a business around it," which is every professor's dream. Professors have ideas. Business people like yourself know how to make a business work. So when he said he wanted to build a business, I was all excited. And we worked out, and he's built this business, Fairway IQ. You can look it up, fairwayiq.com. And we have, I think, almost 200 golf courses using our technology uh, on monitoring pace around the golf course. Not just monitoring, but providing solutions for course managers, for the club pro, the director of golf for a golf course, and giving information to the superintendent on how fast or how much of a problem, as far as pace is concerned, if you put the flagstick in one part of the green versus another part of the green. Does play slow down because you put it in a place where everybody's three putting? Or if you let the rough grow to 3 inches rather than 2 inches, what's gonna happen to pace? And superintendents like to have that information because no superintendent likes to have people complaining. They do a wonderful job maintaining the course, but If somebody says, "Oh my goodness, this play was so slow today. Why was must have been something the superintendent." No superintendent wants to hear that. So if we can provide information to them
Right.
so that if they, they put 10 really difficult pin placements, whole locations a day, and all of a sudden there's half an hour longer round of golf, that's not good. So we want to provide information to the golfers themselves. We have a procedure of like in soccer, you get a red card, or you get a green card in our system if you're on pace, a yellow card if you're off pace but it's not your fault, and a red card if you're holding up groups behind you. And so you get some feedback, and very often if people know that they should, there's too many people blaming golfers rather than helping them. Our philosophy is to help golfers play more quickly, not to blame them. Uh, and the, and that way we learn, everybody learns, and we're all better off as a result. So the Fairway IQ uh, program, you can look it up .com, and we try to help golf courses with their pace problems.
So, can you help those people that set the courses up understand changes to make and how they cut the rough and where they lay it out and where they kind of force guys to be in the trap or
Yeah.
just
Well,
make
clubs.
it a little more doable?
Well, everybody, like I said earlier, golf is a personal challenge that you don't want to make it so easy. We used to at the USJ in early days describe golf courses as what did we say? Pleasant Valley, Panther Mountain, and open flats. And you went to open flats if you wanted a low score but no challenge, uh, and you went to Panther Mountain if you thought your game was in its best condition. Otherwise you couldn't play Panther Mountain. Well, uh, golf clubs want to provide a beautiful challenge, and they want the reputation of being known as a solid golf course, a championship golf course. But you can set it up from day to day slightly differently, a little bit wider fairways, uh, less rough, and we try to provide information as to how deep the rough should be, how much the speed of the green should be, um, and hopefully the superintendents can use that information and provide more enjoyable golf for the members. And that's the bottom line. I mean, golf is really a beautiful sport. Out in the fresh air, the beautiful countryside, and geez, I just played around a couple of weeks ago in New Jersey at Forsgate, uh, and the colors of the trees and the crisp air, just spectacular. It was just spectacular, and
Mm.
luckily hit enough good shots to make the day a pleasant experience. But we go, uh, to me, a great golf course is one you really enjoy walking, even if you weren't playing golf, uh, or has great vistas. The power of the land, how the land is speaking to you, and the superintendent has a lot to do with that. So your work with superintendents is essential to the game of golf. It's not noticed. It's not congratulated. They do the job superbly, and the only time anybody says anything is when there's a problem. Uh, but it's absolutely essential for all of our enjoyment.
Um, yeah, I appreciate that. I got a question for you. When you provide your services you were talking about a minute ago, I find that fascinating. How do you promote that to your people or to your customers, and who is concerned about that information? Who do you
So the different clubs have different openings. Um, One club I talked with, it was the general manager of the club, who has to be responsible for everything. The food service at a country club has to be superb. The golf course has to be superb. The swimming pool has to be superb. They have to worry about everything. Uh, and they hear every complaint. And most of these people tell us the biggest complaint they get, the most often complaint, is the pace of play. Now, clubs have the difficulty of weekend play for the most part is the biggest problem, because you need to have enough members to cover the costs of the club. And if you can spread the play out with those members over 7 days, it's not a problem. Several days during the week, you can go out. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with playing a 5 hour round as long as you're not getting in the way of anybody else. Certainly beginners going out there and want to learn and want to practice and try different things. I even recommend, I did an article in Golf Digest. I write for Golf Digest. Uh, I had an article a couple years ago on what's the best you can shoot with your current game. So, I mean, we all hit some good shots in a round. As Jack Nicklaus always said, we get good when our worst shots are not much worse than our best shots. Um, so I proposed a personal scramble. And based on your handicap, 0 to 10, you'd get one extra shot, 10 to 22 extra shots, and above that, maybe three extra shots. In other words, you tee off, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, hit another. Uh, and you go to your ball, hopefully in the fairway, and you hit your second shot. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, hit another. And the probability is, if you're a 0 to 10 handicap, one of those two is going to be pretty near your best shot, a really good shot. If you're a 10 to 20 or so, probably might one out of three might be your best shot, right? And above that, you might need a little bit more. But you play your personal scramble, and I got some people, friends called me up after they read it. I didn't know they had read it, but they called me and said how excited they were because they saw that I estimated like 3 or 4 shots per round you'd be better. One guy called and said, I got 8 shots better than my average score by doing this. So what does he know? He knows that he could score that score with his game because that's what he did. He just has to get the mental and physical acuity going so that he doesn't hit the bad shot. It's
right?
he doesn't have to hit the second shot. And that's the secret. That's Jack Nicklaus's secret. His mental, or Tiger Woods, his mental concentration and focus. I mean, what was the story about Jack Nicklaus? He one time at the British Open, he just in his backswing, a train came by, and somebody after the round said, "Didn't that train bother you?" And he said, "What train?"
Perfect.
I mean, there's a train
What?
30 feet away from you screaming by. He said, "What train?" It's just so zoned
Laser,
in
laser
and
focus.
focused. And the rest of us, we
Laser.
go out and play, and our minds wander, and our backswing, it gets out of position, and we're looking at the birds flying by or something, and we
Right.
miss.
A cricket goes off. I lose my mind.
Yeah, the bird chirps. Oh my goodness!
Right.
Why'd you hit that bad shot? Oh, bird chirp. I mean, it's
Right.
ridiculous. We're all ridiculous like that.
Right.
So, I mean, and the more you concentrate, the more you get your focus into the game, the better chance you're going to hit a good shot. Now, And a lot of that is the condition of the golf course too. I mean, there's nothing like a perfectly manicured golf course to encourage you to hit good shots. I mean, it doesn't guarantee it, but I don't know. I would guess that most of your listeners get a real good feeling about golf when they're on a wonderfully manicured golf course, and they feel almost obligated to try their best. So the work of the superintendent has a psychological effect as well as a direct physical effect on the golf course.
Yeah, they're the the point of delivery. They are the
Uh,
last mile, and
yeah, yeah.
so Lou, you're teaching on Saturday. What do you teach on? You said,
I teach in the executive EMBA, the executive MBA program. Not every Saturday, but some Saturdays. It kind of cuts into my golf. But these are great people. They're really terrific people, and
I
we
always
talk
wanted
about
to do that kind
strategy.
of thing. What does it
Well,
take for a person to get through one of those programs?
one of how long does it take for get through one of the programs?
Yeah,
I
like
think
the
it's
executive MBA.
2 or 2.5 years,
No shit.
depending how anxious you are to finish. You can take more courses, or you can take it a little bit slower. I mean, these are people who also have executive positions, uh, top management positions, and want to fill out um, their knowledge base. I guess is one way of saying it, so that they can improve their organizations or take a step up further in their professions. And it's mostly strategy. We talk strategy more so than technique, and business structure. And for that matter, like I said about the golf course is a factory. What's the general manager and the director of golf has to have a strategy. I mean, one example of good pace strategy, and obviously you're involved in good golf course maintenance strategy,
Right.
efficient, uh, effective course maintenance. That's what you do, and I'm the beneficiary of what you do. But
Right.
there's I know of a course out on Long Island, a private course, who first group of the day is a twosome. The first few groups are twosomes, then they let threesomes off, and then they let foursomes off. And it's the smart thing to do because twosomes move quicker. Not every twosome, but twosomes move quicker than threesomes, and three groups of three move quicker than groups of four, and groups of four should come after them. I mean, we're talking, you know, 7, 8 in the morning starting out. And so the foursomes they're not relegated to the afternoon. They're talking about 9 or 10 o'clock. But it's just smart. It's just smart. So in our fairway IQ strategies is you don't put twosomes out after foursomes. And if you do, you don't put them out 10 minutes after the foursome. You put them out 20 minutes after the foursome. You put a little bit of a, and if somebody wants to go out and play for 4.5 or 5 hours, you put them out there at 3 in the afternoon, uh, rather than at 8 in the morning. So a good golf manager, good director of golf at a golf course, like a good business person knows his or her customers. You got to know your customers. You got to know what they want, how they think, what's the value proposition that you provide. And the same is true at a golf course. And there's some golfers who want to get out there. They want to early in the morning, get out there and play in 3 hours. I want to get out there and play in 3 hours. Come in, I got other things to do during the day. And to them, by the way, playing means playing fast. They play better when they play fast. They play better when they move quick to their ball and they strike the ball and they feel Feel good. Great. There's other people who want to play a little bit slower,
Right.
whether they want to or not, but that's their natural pace. And they maybe hit the ball more often. So that's going to add some time to it. And sideways, sometimes as much as forward, so that adds a lot to the time. Well, you should know those golfers, and you should know that they shouldn't go off at 8 in the morning, maybe 11 in the morning, and then the group behind them should go off maybe 20 minutes later. Not, oh, we have tee times every 10 minutes. Isn't that good? Well, maybe it's good, but not all golfers are the same. And not all golfers react to the rough the same way. Some golfers can hit it out of the rough, and some golfers have to take 2 or 3 shots to get it out of the rough. Or the bunkers. Oh, bunkers.
Oh,
So, the pros think the bunker shot is the easiest shot in golf.
right.
And the amateurs, that's the biggest difference. The difference between the pros and an amateur on the putting surfaces, not that much. My calculations, of course, they're not playing on the exact same greens. So there is some question about my statistics on this. But if you take a golfer who shoots around 95, take a golfer who shoots around 95, and you let them hit the ball tee to green. And when they get to the putting surface, they walk off, and Ben Crenshaw comes out and putts for them. Or Scotty Scheffler putts for them. What do you think? Well, their average score will drop from about 95 down to about 92. And they might break 90 every once in a while, but it's not that big of a difference. On the other hand, if you take a golfer who
Uh,
shoots 95, you should take a golfer who shoots 95, and you play off Scotty Scheffler's tee ball. So you let Scotty Scheffler drive for you, and then you go play the rest of the hole. You'll shoot in the low 80s. So there's some aspects of the game that really make a difference. This comes from my statistics. I think you've heard me talk about Riccio's rule. Haven't I told you about Riccio's rule? I did studies I made the front page of the London Times back in 1990 at the World Scientific Congress of Golf at St. Andrews. Here's Riccio's rule. Greens in regulation. You know greens in regulation, right?
yeah, yeah.
1 stroke to a par 3, 2 strokes to a par 4, putting surface, 3 strokes to a par 5. Green in regulation. Your average score will equal 95 minus 2 times the number of greens in regulation. So if you hit 3 greens in regulation, your average score, on average, if you average 3, will be 95 minus 2 times 3, 6, which is 89. Okay? If you hit 8 greens in regulation, you'll shoot 95 minus 2 times 8, which is 16. 95 minus 16 is 79. If you hit 13 greens in regulation, 95 minus 2 times 13, 26. 95 minus 26 is 69. So the rule, Riccio's rule, 95 minus 2 greens in regulation, 2 times greens in regulation, means 3 greens break 90, 8 greens break 80, 13 greens break 70. The average PGA Pro averages a little bit under 71, between 70 and 71, and averages a little bit more than 12 greens in regulation. Right on the button, right on the rules button. So if you know people who shoot 95 and they want to break 90, you tell them you got to hit at least 3 greens in regulation. Don't worry about your putting. Your putting is probably adequate. It's tee to green is the predominant determiner of your score. I've had days where I've hit 13 greens and shot 85 because I had over 40 putts because I'm a terrible, right? What was the joke? You could write a letter to the misser of short putts, New York City, and the post office will deliver it to me.
Oh,
So, but the game is striking the ball tee to green. Uh, that's the important thing. So, what the superintendent does, width of the fairway, depth of the
right,
rough,
right.
that kind of thing. Can't do much about the bunkers. We're stuck there. But the architects, I've talked with several architects about pace and how they design a course from that standpoint. That it's not the predominant thing on their mind, unfortunately. But I think more and more starting as more and more people are starting to think about it.
I mean, it would seem to me if I was an architect back in the day, I would. I guess part of me would want to build one so tough that if you turned the corner the wrong way or if you went too far that way, you, you were kind of doomed. It's fun until it's not fun.
Well, you can blame me and my colleagues on the handicap research team for a lot of golf courses which are too difficult to play. And let me explain. We invented the slope system in the late 70s, early 80s, took a decade to implement. Most technology, by the way, in the history of human race takes 10 years. I don't care. You go back 2,000 years, you go back 1,000 years, it took 10 years for the windmill to be all over Europe. Uh, so it took 10 years to get it in place. And the 80s were kind of a low period. The late 70s, early 80s was a low period for golf. Arnold Palmer made it real famous after World War II in the 50s and 60s. But tennis came on real strong in the 60s and 70s for young people. And golf didn't have as much excitement. Matter of fact, in the early 80s, we were losing golf courses to real estate development
Right, I remember
like
that.
crazy. Then by the
Yep.
1990s, and the National Golf Foundation made a outrageous prediction that golf was going to take off like crazy in the 90s because the baby boom was coming of golf age. And everybody thought they were crazy when they said in 1988, they said in the 1990s, America is going to have to build a new course every day for a decade to meet the demand. And everybody said, "What are you, crazy?" Well, guess what? In the 1990s, America built 3,500 golf courses, which one a day would be 3,600, 3,650. So we came pretty close to building a new golf course every day for a whole decade. The problem was by then the slope system was there, and every developer, and most of these were being developed along with real estate,
Right.
high end, very high end real
Yeah,
estate.
yeah. Right.
And so
Yeah,
the
fairway
right,
houses. Right.
right, fairway
Right.
golf
Yeah, right,
around
right.
and amongst the houses.
Right.
And so every every developer went to the golf course architect and said, "Give me the highest slope course in the area.
Right. Make me the Mo baddest.
Make me the so people with the notion that the higher the slope, the
Yeah.
better the course."
More
And so,
bragging rights.
unfortunately, we built a lot of golf courses that the average person can't play.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
they're great championship golf courses, but is that what we're supposed to do? So it's unfortunate that they took on. So I have a rule, by the way, another one of Riccio's rules. There's variations to these rules as well. What
Yeah, I love them. Go
here's a rule: you should never play a golf course whose slope rating is more than 145 minus your handicap index. So if you're a 5 index, you can play courses up to 140 or so. If you're a 10, 135, you get the idea, 145 minus your handicap index. to provide a significant challenge, but not overwhelm you. You don't want a course where you're in the rough all day, hitting the ball in the water all day. You want an enjoyable experience. You want a challenge, but you want an enjoyable experience. So that rule is a pretty good rule. 145 minus your index. Should never play a course with a slope greater than that. So, but we have too many golf courses that are too difficult. Now it's
So
the job of the superintendent to try and
can
open
I
them up.
can I ask a question, Lou? What do you think about if you're maybe not a big hitter or something, playing a beautiful course that's very hard, playing from the most forward tees or more forward
I
tees?
that's what I do now.
I
Matter of fact, I'm sorry, I don't mean to
no,
interrupt.
I was just gonna no. I was just gonna say I got a couple of buddies that they're really supportive of my golf game, and they're just like, "Fucking Tucker, play up 3 boxes,
Yep.
that's it." And and then motherfucker, I play a little better or I score better. I just
Well,
can't.
you'll enjoy it more
Right,
instead of
right.
Alice Dye. So I wrote the position paper for the USGA. It was a memo. I like to say it was the position paper. I wrote a memo in 1980 for the USGA to say that we should stop calling the tees the men's tees and the women's tees. We should call them the back, middle, and front tees, and encourage seniors and juniors to play from the front tees and enjoy it. Uh, and it caught on. Most golf courses, although they give you a ladies' tee and a ladies' tee slope rating, course and slope rating, most courses call the front tees now. And it's not embarrassing, for a man to. I play the front tees, and I enjoy it. Alice Dye, Pete Dye's wife, God rest their souls, um, once I did some work, analytic work for the USGA based on her stuff. And she used to say, would you enjoy, she would say to men, would you enjoy playing around the golf, averaging 120 and 80, hitting 80 wood shots, tee and fairway wood shots? And the average man says, no, that'd be crazy. Well, she said, that's what the average woman does. And how frustrating. And the reason for that is classically, we've had two sets of tees for men, a championship set and a regular. It was the blue tees in the
Mi-
back and the white tees in the
right,
middle. But
right.
the women only had a championship. The red tees were, in essence, a
That,
championship. She
that
said you
was
got to
that
have
was
tees
it.
way up front of those. You got to
Yeah.
have the yellow tees, the red tees way up front. The red tees. By the way, have you ever played the Stanford University golf course? I
No.
got I got accepted at Stanford, but Lehigh gave me a scholarship, so I went to Lehigh. But years later, I got to play the Stanford golf course, and I said, "Well, I should have gone to Stanford." But anyway, with the first time we pulled up to Stanford, we go to the first tee, and the front tees were yellow. Then slightly behind them were white tees. Then behind them were blue tees, and all the way back, were the red tees. And my friend looked at me and said, "Boy, they sure treat their women tough around here."
Holy cow.
Uh, but the red tees at Stanford were the cardinal tees, the varsity tees. So, but I think you should play whatever you're comfortable with. The the USGA has some recommended course lengths based on how far you hit your 7 iron. If you hit your 7 iron 120 yards, you probably should be playing a course of 5,000 yards. If you hit it 150 yards, you can play a course 6,000 yards. If you hit it like Tiger Woods at 180 to 200 yards, you can play a 7,000 yard plus course. So it's one way of looking at it. I'm always astounded. By the way, if you ever watched Caddyshack,
Oh my gosh.
and
How many times have I watched it?
Oh well, I'm embarrassed to tell you that I can't resist it whenever it's on. But there's a scene where Bill Murray is swinging at flowers
Right,
and he's making up stories. And he says he's got 190 yards. He's going to use an 8 iron, which was hysterical back in 1980.
right.
Except the pros are now using 9 irons from 190 yards. It's not a. It was impossible to consider hitting an 8 iron 190 yards in 1980, but now they do it all the time. So
Cinderella story.
very different, very
Yeah.
different. So yes, I think the. And by the way, this is a job for the superintendents to and the architects together to position tees, make new tees at 4,500 yards, 5,200 yards, along with the 5,600-yard course, 6,100 yards, 6,600 yards, and the 7,200-yard. All you can do it. You can do it all on the same golf course. I mean, for enjoyment. I don't know. People say hitting and playing it forward will speed up play. I don't know if that's true. Uh, because the walking time is still about the same. It depends on how your group plays their own ball. I have friends who just I don't care. They don't care if I'm hitting; they're hitting. When
Yeah.
they get to their ball, they're hitting. you know, I'm, you know, the, so they're just moving. They're moving as if I don't exist.
Well, that's how it should be in my mind, but go ahead.
My guess. Well, there's a certain politeness.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you, you don't want to. I mean, one of the nice things getting old, I can't hear anymore, so I can't. I have less distractions. Uh, I mean, I've played with people and I've been talking, and they hit. And I go, "Oh, I apologize that I was talking." They go, "You were talking." It's great when you can't hear. So, but but playing forward is a smart move. It's a smart move. I mean, the people who say, "Oh, we got to play the whole course." Well, yeah, okay, sure, go ahead. Be miserable.
When you
You
say
know,
playing forward, what do you mean?
playing the front tees,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
playing all the way forward, the forward tee. Some courses call them the forward tees,
I'm, I
the
got you.
back tees and the forward tees.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I
So,
wasn't tracking.
so I mean, but you should know your own game. Should know your own
Well,
game and
right.
what you need to get out of the game. I mean, we all have this image of what the game is. The game is for a par four, you hit it in the fairway and use an iron club, whatever that means these days. An iron club to hit to the green. And a par five, you tee off and you're probably going to use a fairway wood and then have a pitch of some sort if you hit it. So as you get older, or when you're young, you don't hit it far enough. So move to the forward tees where you can reach a par four and two and reach a par five and three. If you take three full swings to hit a par four, you're playing too far back. If you take four full swings to hit a par five, you're playing too far back. Don't it? Because we have this image. I mean, golf. When the Scots invented golf, uh, when you go over to Scotland and the wind is blowing, and you say, "Jesus, how did these guys? Why did these guys invent a game with a small light
What?
ball going up in the air?" And then you ask around and you realize, no, they invented a ball that rolled along the ground. They were hitting rocks, basically. There was no real flight trajectory. Even the feathery ball was more like a baseball, a small baseball. And it was line drives. They were hitting line drives that rolled. And that's why the Scottish golfers are so much fun because you could play bump and run even from 200 yards out. You plan to hit the ball a certain distance and let it run up to the green. It's astounding to see it. They invented that. Americans invented the game with the ball going up in the air and coming straight down. Uh, Target golf. Uh, So it's a different, it's a different game.
Well,
Uh,
what was the transition of the game? Was it that someone came up with a different ball, or someone came up with a
yeah,
different club? Who came up with a different ball?
yeah. The
How,
history of the golf ball is a pretty interesting history. Uh, with the original balls, when golf became a real sport in the middle of the 19th century in Scotland, the feathery, which was basically boiled pigeon feathers scrunched together and then wrapped like a baseball in a leather cover, stitched like a baseball. Uh, some of the early rules were around what happens if your ball disintegrates, when you hit it. That was the original. Then when the Brits, ruled Britannia, when they went then to South Asia and they came back with rubber, they there were no rubber trees in England. So when they came back from South Asia with rubber, they created the gutta percha ball, which had a rubber core and a little bit of a rubber out. And then they had pimples. And pimples, not dimples, was the original aerodynamic. By the way, let me ask you a question. If Tom Watson could hit a golf ball 300 yards, current golf ball, how far would he hit the same golf ball constructed the exact same way except with perfectly smooth, no dimples? What do you think? This is your test here today.
so the initial point is 300 yards.
Yeah, say
So
300 yards. A ball without any dimples.
I'm going to say 315.
Yeah, that's a reason most people would say that. No, it'd be about 150 yards.
No kidding.
Wouldn't go anywhere because the dimples provide aerodynamic aspects that makes the ball fly
It's like lift, little
like
wings.
lift. It's like lift. There's
Okay.
so you take all that away. I mean, in baseball doesn't. I mean, Tiger Woods, it's a half a pitching wedge. Aaron Judge home run is a half a pitching wedge in golf. Uh, so because the baseball doesn't have any dimples,
Do the
you know,
threads? Do the
the threads
threads
the threads provide a little bit of a
something?
disturbance around the ball.
Yeah.
So there is some flight character, but very little. The ball goes up and comes down, as opposed to a golf ball. I don't know if you can see it. Goes up,
Yeah, yeah. I see
goes
the.
up, you know. And I don't know how big the screen is at your end, so I can't tell.
Well,
But
it's as big as you need it to be. But
you know, I mean, my ball doesn't do that. But when a pro hits a golf ball, there's an aerodynamic aspect to the dimples. Matter of fact, I can remember in the locker room at Baltusrol in 1980 with Frank Thomas, the technical director at USGA, talking to Dow Finsterwall. That's a name you might not have ever heard. He was a
that's a great name, though.
great name from back in the 1950s, the Pro Tour, Dow Finsterwall. And they were looking at
Self-install.
a golf ball and looking at the edge of the dimple, the paint quality around the edge of the dimple, that how much of a difference that paint coating around the edge, how precise it was, would make a difference on the flight of the ball. Uh, so the people who manufacture golf balls are astoundingly precise now. The, uh,
So
you, used to be the pros who would get a dozen balls, and before they go on the golf course, they'd bounce them. They'd put them through no go gauges for roundness. In the old days, pros would take a golf ball and put a black dot on it, and then put it in water to see if it floated one way. If the dot came up, that means it was not balanced. But nowadays, you buy a golf ball today, and every one of those golf balls is just about perfect.
well, when you said painting a minute ago, They did used to paint them in the old days, or not that
Yeah,
many years
that's
ago.
right. Now that's the
It's all
material color.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's solid. It's a
Eh,
solid ball now. But I grew up on balata balls that you could cut. You know,
right.
when I was a kid, you'd had two golf balls. One you hit tee to green with that might have a cut in it because you couldn't afford to get another golf ball, and then you had one without a cut that when you got to the putting green, you'd replace it and putt with the smooth ball. You know, but I mean, at some point the ball would be scraped or cut so badly you couldn't even hit it tee to green. But those were
It's
those. We've
well, I
come a
mean,
long way since those days.
and when was the last time you priced golf balls? I can't believe how much they cost now.
Actually, I'm pretty lucky. I probably have enough golf balls, you know, that I could use a different ball on every tee for the rest of my life. I'm pretty close to the finish line here now, but I could probably use the same ball, a different ball on every tee and never run out. And I always, if I hit a ball into the rough or the woods, I usually come out with more balls than I went in with. I find them and they're, what's the old joke of the guy who has a golf ball and he says, gee, golf ball is guaranteed. You can't lose it. Absolutely can't lose it. I just know I'm told you just can't lose it. And the other guy says, where'd you get it? Oh, I found it in the woods. You know, but I find more golf balls, and perfectly good golf balls that wandered the wrong way from some poor hacker. And it's very hard to damage a golf ball these days. You're right. The material on these golf balls is almost indestructible.
It really is. And I like a nice soft one. I always kind of have. I,
Probably
I,
a smart move. You know that when a pro, well, this is true when they were balata balls. I don't know now, but the balata golf ball, when a pro would hit a balata golf ball, it would squish about a third on the club face and then explode off the club face. That's the coefficient of restitution of the golf ball that actually would squish the
yeah,
golf ball about a third. The old balata balls. Well, the front end, the front side would remain round, but the back side would be flat, and then boom, explode off the club face. So the ball is initially moving at the pace, the speed of the club head, 120 miles an hour, and then when it explodes off, would go up to say 170 or 180 miles an hour.
it's amazing.
Now, Bryson DeChambeau is trying to get up to 225. I think the long drive guys in the long drive contests, I think they can get up above that. They're hitting the ball 400 yards. I wouldn't want to be that ball. Whew, man, that's got to be painful
So
to
do
be
they
hit.
still have the balata balls, or do they
Oh
outlaw
no,
them?
no. For one thing, they were impossible to make. They were the wound ball. Um,
Oh,
rubber twine, like, and be round ball around a solid core center, and then the couple layers of balata, rubberized type, and then they had synthetic balata for about, I'd say probably 10 or 20 years, and finally they got to the point where they made a solid ball that consistently enough that the pros and performed the way the pros wanted. So now, why make a balata ball? It's much more expensive to make and much more variable in performance and a shorter life.
what
The
is balata?
rubber, it's a rubber base
Just a certain species of rubber?
polymer, some sort of polymer from based on rubber.
Yeah, I remember those little golf balls that had the rubber bands all wound around inside of them.
If you cut into them, you could find it. You could see the rubber. But a baseball is a wound ball. A Major League Baseball is a wound ball. Now,
You
has
know,
been, has been.
yeah. Do you know where? Do you? I have a fun fact for you. Do you know where all those baseballs are made for the
Ooh,
NBL?
Rawlings or Spalding, Tennessee.
Hmm Negatory. They're made in
Where
Guatemala.
Guatemala, the baseballs are now made in Guatemala.
Rawlings is all made in Guatemala.
Really? Well, they're rubbed with Mississippi mud before they're used. But how
I
about
thought
that?
it was I thought it was Virginia mud actually,
How about that?
but I am
Well,
aware of that. That one guy's had that mud contract for a long time, which I thought was pretty cool.
yeah. Well, I mean, the USGA has extreme, fabulous technology for testing golf balls. Uh, Matter of fact, the USGA was the first. Frank Thomas was hired from the Shakespeare Sporting Goods Company back in the early
Oh yeah,
'70s, I guess it was, or late '60s. Frank Thomas, God rest his soul, was at Shakespeare and invented the graphite shaft for golf balls. Shakespeare made graphite fishing rods,
right.
and
I
Frank
had them.
Thomas took the graphite technology, and he was a golfer, and he convinced the Shakespeare Company into making graphite shafts for golf clubs. And Frank had the patent on that, on graphite shafts. Of course, Shakespeare had the patent. Frank's name was on it. Frank got $1. He got $1 for that patent. Uh, I mean, if he got a dollar for every graphite shaft, he would have been a billionaire by now. But
Hmm.
anyway, he invented. But anyway, Frank Thomas went to work at the USGA and developed the whole testing procedure for balls and equipment. And the USGA was so advanced that other sports would go to him if they wanted to test their equipment and to come up with a testing protocol for testing their equipment. I'm trying to figure out if today's baseball is the same it was when Mickey Mantle played and when Babe Ruth played. There's
You
some
mean the
evidence
ball
that
itself? The ball
the ball
itself?
itself, and I'll tell you why. If we can shift a little bit to baseball,
Absolutely.
so one of my heroes now is Aaron Judge, because I'm here in New York. Uh,
Right.
there are lots of heroes all around the country, but I got Aaron Judge here, and he hits mammoth home runs. But I'm not so sure they're mammoth. So a couple of years ago in the current Yankee Stadium, he hit a mammoth home run, as the announcer said, 455 feet to left center field in Yankee Stadium. Well, I remember in 1960, Mickey Mantle hitting a ball 455 feet in the old Yankee Stadium, 455 feet to left center field, and it bounced over the 457 sign for a ground rule double. Phil Rizzuto, who was a great Yankee shortstop, but at that point was the announcer for the Yankees telecast, left the television booth for 10 minutes, came back and said, I looked at the dimensions of every ballpark in the world, and that would have been a home run in any other ballpark in America or the world for that matter, um, at 455 feet. So there's something different. Do you know what was Yankee Stadium's center field when Babe Ruth played? You know how far the fence
I,
was?
I don't know, Lou. I
Okay, it
don't
was
know.
490 feet.
Hmm.
It was
It's long.
460 feet when Mickey Mantle played, and now it's, I think, 410 feet.
Did they just add more bleachers, more seating capacity?
That's part of it. They just realized that fans like home runs. See,
Yeah,
the
no shit.
original game of baseball was designed for the ball to be played. You weren't supposed to hit it out of the park. You were supposed to hit it where they ain't, and the ball was to be played. That was the old Ty Cobb, hit it where they ain't. But the ball was to be played. And uh, I mean, Willie Mays' great catch on Vic Worst. You know what I'm talking about? You're too young. The
I'm too
great catch,
young.
54 World Series, over his head catch by Vic Wirtz. That would have been a home run in any ballpark today. He couldn't have made that catch 483 feet to center field in the Polo Grounds. He was out there about 460, 470 when he made the catch. And that would, that would be 40 feet over the longest center field in baseball. Couldn't have made that catch. So anyway, what am I saying? The USGA studies the golf ball better than any other sport that studies theirs. Tennis is pretty good at it. They have two different tennis balls, from what I understand, that depending on the surface and the event. Uh, but I'm trying to figure out what baseball does, and they're very secretive. So you're telling me I have to? Where do we go? Guatemala? No, where did you say?
So
Yeah.
when I owned my air compressor company, I serviced the Rawlings baseball factory, which was in Guatemala, and
Guatemala. So I have to go to Guatemala to find out.
that's where they were making them then.
How about that?
And I have another fun. I serviced this company. I'm not going to say the name. That sounds a non-disclosure, but they made all of the um, dice and the poker chips and the cards for casinos. That place was like a
Sure.
fortress.
Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
way casinos, I'm surprised there's going to be a tariff put on those pretty soon, because casinos are America's big business. I went to Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and at the bottom of the hill where Lehigh was Bethlehem Steel, the 11-mile steel mill, American Industrial Might. You know what's there now?
A
A, ca-
casino.
a casino. that's American at work. There used to be America making steel. Now we make bets.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe how common all these online betting things are. Everywhere you look, the advertisements are for, you know, FanDuel.com, MGM bets. You
well,
can,
I can tell you, I'm so old. I can remember when gambling was illegal and
yeah.
immoral. Immoral. Only bad people bet. Bad. You had to know a bad person because it was all illegal. You had to know a bad person to place a bet with the bookie who
At the, at the,
was,
at the
at the
dark
bar,
corner, at the dark corner of the dark bar.
or the bartender at your local bar
Yeah.
was more likely the bookie. But in 10 years, from 1965 to 1975, it went from being illegal and immoral to being immoral to being the government's in the business of pushing gambling because it paid for education. So lottos, all the lottos games are all for to enrich the government. But it is true. Now I teach sports analytics, and the nice thing about the gambling is gamblers like data. They need data. So my students could go to work for DraftKings, and Stats Inc. And places that produce data not only for the sports teams but also for gamblers. So I'm not disappointed. It creates more analytics jobs. It's just that I'm not a gambler. I wrote a column for Golf Digest for about 2 years using my simulations. I'd run 10,000 simulations every week to predict who was going to win the PGA golf tournament. I was pretty good. My model was okay as far as predicting top 10 probabilities. Winners, not so good. Other people just using their own personal intuition and analytics generally were better. But it was frustrating to me because my picks usually didn't win. And so instead of enjoying the golf tournament, I was angry. So, you want to watch golf on TV. I don't know all these gamblers, they put a lot of money down and then they get angry if they lose. Well, that's not the purpose of watching the sport. You want to enjoy the artistry and creativity and athleticism, the sheer spontaneity of the sport, the joy of seeing somebody doing something that is just unheard of. Catching a. I remember the first catch in an NFL game with one hand. Of course, these guys have hands the size of my
Right.
head. You know, I played high school basketball, and I was 5 feet tall. And so I miss a layup, and people say, "How can you miss that layup?" I said, "For me, it's a 5 foot shot."
Right.
You know, I mean, it's not a layup; it's a 5 foot shot. But and guys would stuff the ball, but I couldn't even hold the ball with one hand. You know, if you watch Shaq or LeBron James hold a basketball, it's like me holding a softball.
Right.
Their hand wraps around the ball. So it's a whole different thing. But yeah, watching sports to me is the fun of watching the great athletes doing stuff that is just unbelievable. I still don't understand how anybody can hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Like, you can go to the ballpark, and when a pitcher releases the ball, blink your eyes, and you can't refocus your eyes before you hear the ball hitting the catcher's mitt. So you can't move your eyelids as fast as that ball is coming. Yet somebody could swing a bat and hit the ball. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they can possibly. It's amazing. It's a great thrill to watch. Or you see a guy running and catch the ball, or golf. You watch a golfer hit the pro golfers hit balls. It's how could they do that? And by the way, they do it in such perfect balance, almost effortlessly. Scheffler has kind of a weird swing, but most of these guys have these perfectly balanced. It looks almost effortless, and then the balls go screaming out there 320 yards. I don't know how they do it.
Well, they have all this technology now to train them, and they can see
I got the
themselves.
same technology. Oh, do you mean to make them stronger?
Well, that, but they can sit there and robo ties or robo watch their swing and break it down to every square.
They optimize every muscle,
Yeah.
I guess. But you watch them. Doesn't look
That,
like this one that are perfect balance.
yeah. Uh,
Perfect balance. That's the key. A lot of golfers come up to me. People say, "Oh, Lou, look at my backswing. Look at me. Can you tell me what's wrong with my backswing?" And I say to them, all my years in golf, I've never seen anybody hit the ball on the backswing. Tell me what your follow through looks like. Show me your follow through.
that's right.
If you're in balance on your follow through, you probably hit the ball well. But don't worry so much about your backswing. Shorten your backswing so that you can hit the ball solidly and maintain your balance. And that's you'll enjoy the game a lot more. You hit the ball solidly. By the way, you hit the ball solidly, it'll go further. So most golfers overswing and lose their balance, uh, and then they complain it doesn't go far enough. What was the old Bob Hope joke? That he was having trouble one day hitting the ball, and his partner said, "Bob, I think you're standing too close to the ball before you hit it." He said, "That's not my problem. My problem is I'm standing too close to the ball after I hit it." So,
You know what? I just watched the
bada
little
bing.
thing
Oh,
about.
you have rim shots on this podcast? Can you put a rim shot in there
Absolutely,
for
we can do.
my
Absolutely,
vaudeville,
we will.
my
We
vaudeville
will.
joke?
We'll throw a little vaudeville. So, two things about Bob Hope. I just watched this thing. I'm a big architect freak, and his crib at Palm Springs was ridiculous. I'll put that up there and show it to you when we put this thing together. But um,
Palm Desert, or is that Palm Springs?
yeah, it was over
In
in
California.
California. Yeah, California, whatever the fuck. Um,
He used to
but
play golf with Gerald Ford, and there were so many golf courses in there. And Bob Hope said that Gerald Ford would tee it up on the first tee and hit the ball, and then decide which golf course to play, depending on where his drive went. You know,
I did not know that. Hey,
that was,
we Was Gerald Ford a good guy, as far as you know?
Very good guy. Very good guy. And a good athlete. He was he All American at University of Michigan? He was a great. He was mimicked, or not mimicked, but how would you say? They made fun of him for being a little clumsy, but he was a great athlete
Good
and
sports career.
a solid American. He was a solid American. There aren't many left.
You know, I think this may be over exaggerated, but where he set up his winter base was in Beaver Creek, Colorado, and he
Bob
was the
Hope. Who are you talking about?
no,
Gerald?
Gerald Ford.
Yeah.
He was the president at the time, and so they wired that entire ski hill with cameras. He had Secret Service camped out everywhere, so he could ski there. Pretty funny.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
you got to do
But
that these days. Well, he
yeah,
was, yeah,
it was a long time ago, but
but
he
he
was
was a
just
good guy. I mean, I
yeah,
never
good.
met him. I never met him, but he was everybody that I knew him that said he was a good guy.
So what are they doing with these golf balls, trying to soften them up? This whole new thing about the tuned
Yeah.
down
So,
golf balls.
although I don't know why they're not looking at the dimple patterns. They're trying to regulate the distance, and my
So,
ball is not going too far,
but it's these
and
pros that
then
are trying to
99% of the golfers, the golf ball's not going. The ball is going too far.
right.
So actually, Dean Beeman came to the USGA and made a wonderful speech on why there should be two golf balls, one for the pros and one. I don't subscribe to it, but it was a brilliantly constructed argument for having two different golf balls, one for the pros and one for the rest of us. But I like the idea that we all play the same game. Uh, I
But it's
mean,
not the same game. I mean, the game is can be modified by the. I played with some guys that it's not the same game.
is that the
They
same?
hit it
Well,
so
it depends
hard,
on your
so
point of view
far.
on that.
I was just
They
saying,
hit
if
the
I
ball. Yeah,
they just hit the ball further. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. Distance is critical. I think it's about 93% of the course rating is distance. Used to be 100%. Now it's 93%, and even the slope rating is 80 to 85% dependent on distance. So distance is critical to the game. Anybody who plays the game knows that distance is critical to the game. I always contend, though, that golf is a game of accuracy more so than distance, because we can have more control over accuracy than we can have over distance. And so, by the way, I wrote one thing in Golf Digest years ago that if you're so concerned about distance, if you think 10 yards, let's say 10 yards, is going to change your life, 10 more yards off the tee, every drive you take, when you get to the ball, pick it up and walk 10 yards closer to the green and drop the ball. And do that every round for a few rounds and see what your score is and see if you score any better. And I got news for you, immeasurable. 10 yards. 10 yards times, well, 30 shots, 10 times 30, it'll be about 600 yards. It might be two strokes. 10 yards might give you a stroke or two, but it's not going to change your life. I mean, that's not a small improvement. That's a nice improvement. One or two strokes. What did I say? One or two strokes for 10
Yeah, two
yards.
strokes. Yeah, after
Yeah,
18, two strokes over the
for
round.
18. Yeah, per round. Maybe, but try it. Pick up the ball and walk it. Now, you should stay in the condition that you're in. If you're in the fairway, stay in the fairway. If you're in the rough, stay in the rough. Uh, but if you walk 10 yards and you're in the water, the ball's in the water. So uh, you made the mistake of hitting it 10 yards too far. So But try it. Try it. Play. If anybody's listening, let me know how it works. Play a few rounds. Do you pick up the ball, walk 10 yards? If you want 20, take 20. I don't care. Just let me know what you did. Take 10 yards, then give yourself a good lie. I'm not asking you to drop the ball, place the ball, and play it from 10 yards closer and see if it really makes that big of a difference in your round of golf. And do it over. You can't do it for one round. You got to do it for a number of rounds and see if it changes your average score. Or hit two balls like the scramble that I'm talking about. You hit one from the original place and then go 10 yards up and hit another one. If you have the luxury of not having a group behind you, and you can do that.
Right. Don't slow anybody down.
The
What have you
worst thing you
found?
do, the worst thing you do is slow somebody down behind you.
Yeah, for sure doing that shit.
Yeah.
So you found it's about 2 strokes.
1 to 2 strokes for 10 yards. Depending, you,
I mean, you could kind of get all sneaky with that. You can get all clear a bunch of stuff and walk 10 yards in the right direction. I've had a guy kick my ass one time doing
try
that.
it. Let's say if you have 14 tee shots, actually, it wouldn't even be a stroke. 14 tee shots, 10 yards. The average golfer overcomes distance at about 180 to 200 yards per shot on a regression basis. So it's not even a shot, probably one shot. And over 5 rounds of golf, your average score is probably plus or minus 2 or 3 strokes.
Sure.
So you really wouldn't notice it. Oh, you might feel better about it, but you might not
I feel
notice it.
better. I feel better already.
Anytime you get 10 extra yards, right? You
Yeah,
feel good.
feel way better.
But I mean, to me, I don't hit the ball that long. There's nothing more enjoyable to me than having somebody outdrive me, but then my second shot is inside theirs when we get to the green. I
Yeah, I mean
mean, if
that's
I'm hitting a 4 iron in and they're hitting a 7 iron in, and I put it to 12 feet and they put it to 40 feet,
yeah.
I'm much happier.
Yeah, you walking up like King Kong.
Wishing you, as Chick Evans used to say, wishing you a long walk with a putter, which meant your caddy gave you your putter because you hit the green from a long distance. That's the
Right.
key, by the way. The long iron shots are the key to golf.
And that's my weakness. I'm getting
Work
better
work
at it.
on your long iron shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we could all get better at every aspect of golf. But if you want to know that even the pros, let me tell you, for example, my studies of the pros, the missing a fairway on average, and of course there's different ways of missing a fairway. Sometimes you out of bounds, sometimes in the water, but on average, missing a fairway costs you a quarter stroke.
That's it.
The average score, the average score for the pros on the PGA Tour, let's say the overall average for par fours is 4.03. Uh, the If you hit it in the fairway, the difference between the final score from hitting in the fairway versus missing the fairway is a quarter stroke difference. It's about I think it was like 410 to 390 or something like that, 390, 385. The quarter stroke difference. Missing the green from the fairway over half a stroke.
Ooh, big
So
penalty.
so the difference in scoring is the approach shot to the green. That the good golfers hit the green, the not so good golfers miss the green. Uh, Even it's a half stroke from the rough. If you miss the fairway but hit the green versus miss the fairway and miss the green, it's a half a stroke. So the penalty, the scoring shot. A lot of people say putting and chipping are the scoring shots. No, the iron shots are the scoring shots. If you're hitting the greens regularly, remember Riccio's rule: 3 greens break 90, 8 greens break 80, 13 greens break 70. You want to score better, hit more greens. And you want to hit more greens, improve your iron play. And that's the game of golf. Now, I mean, I have good days and bad days putting. I can go from 30 putts around to 40 putts around very easily, which is horrible and miserable. But overall, on the long run, the scoring is tee to green, and the key is your iron play.
So, what about the guys like me who don't have those accurate iron shots, but I can lay up pretty close, and then I'm really comfortable and sexy with my wedges, and I just hope for one putt. That's my.
Oh, yeah, you can do that regularly. God bless you.
It's
But you know,
yeah.
what did Lee Trevino said? There's two endangered species. Uh, what did he say? Uh, he said dogs that. Uh, Geez, I can't remember. Dogs that bark at cars and pros that chip for pars. Something like that. If you're chipping for a par, you're not going to be on the pro tour. You know?
Well, I guess that explains why I'm not on the
Well,
Pluto.
yeah, but I mean, if you're a good chipper, it's a lot of. But there's nothing to discourage your opponent more that they're on the green 25 feet away and you're off the green, and so they figure they got you beat, and you chip to 1 feet or
Right.
you chip in, and then they three putt, and that just ruins their day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's
So that
nothing.
I've
I,
leaned on that a few times.
don't
That's my.
don't don't think I'm belittling your chipping ability. The
No,
chipping
that's
is
my.
wonderful, and it certainly can discourage change the momentum of a match.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so, but
But
in
it's
the long
kind of.
run, you want to hit the greens with your irons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matter of fact,
I.
one of my rules is if you want to know how good you should be this good, you should be able to hit the green 3 out of 10 times with a 3 iron, 4 out of 10 times with a 4 iron, 5 out of 10 times with a 5 iron. You get the pattern. Six out of
Yeah.
ten times with a 6 iron. If you can do that, you're a you're a good golfer. So you're standing out there with a 6 iron in your hand in the middle of the fairway with a good lie. More than half the time, you should be putting for a birdie uh, if you want to be a good golfer. And you should have that mindset to hone your game on the practice range. That you got an 8 iron in your hand, 8 out of 10 times you should be on the putting surface. So practice that, and your score will improve tremendously.
Probably
Whereas
fall
making,
like drop
you
off
know,
a cliff, just fall like
I
a
mean,
rock.
everybody says, "Oh, it would have been a better score if I had made that putt." Well, of course, but the difference between a really great putting day and a not so great putting day ain't that many strokes. But the difference between 3 greens in regulation and 8 greens in regulation is 10 strokes. So
That's huge.
huge, huge. It's
I
tee to
mean,
green. Ben Hogan said there's 2 games of golf. He said there's the game with the ball in the air and the game with the ball on the ground. And any 10-year-old kid can roll a ball on a carpet. But let's see a 10-year-old kid hit a 250-yard drive or a 200-yard 3 iron.
right.
That's when you get good. That's when you get good.
When did he say that?
When did
Ben Hogan. Yeah. What
last
year
week.
did?
Did he say it last week?
That's awesome.
I don't know what he said.
Oh, I know.
He said it back in the 1960s. That's how old I am. I've
Well,
got 1969 golf clubs to
well,
go
I
along with
watched.
my 1969 Chevy Malibu convertible.
You still have that?
Oh yeah, I restored it a couple years ago.
Oh, nice. What color
Still
is it?
have it. Burnished brown with a white top. I think it's the
Nice.
last and only burnished brown 69 Chevy Malibu convertible left in the country. There aren't many. I don't know. Check it out. I think it's the
Well,
only one left.
you know what? Let me just ask you a question. Was that a factory color?
That was the fact. I'm the original owner. Bought it when I got out of college. My father helped me buy it. Burnished brown, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful. Yeah, I mean, most of these old cars are white, red, or blue. Uh, and I got nothing against those colors, but this is unique. And I kept the car, by the way. I kept the car. For one thing, I've been living in cities for the most part, New York and Washington. So I don't drive a lot of miles. I do drive, but I don't drive a lot of miles. So I kept the car longer than most people did. And then in the 1970s, when it was about time to buy a new car, the knuckleheads in Detroit decided that they didn't want to make convertibles anymore. That nobody wanted convertibles. And I looked at my car or whatever. It was just really stupid. No, well, maybe, but so I said, well, gee, maybe this car will be valuable someday. It's a beautiful car. I loved it. Uh, and and then Iacocca was smart enough to bring the convertible back. But so I kept it, and then living in New York City, uh, uh, I rarely drove the car, so I just kept it for a long time, and then I restored it. It's a long story. I won't explain that story, but it's a cool car. It's not the super sport. It's not the super sport, but it's registered for the movies and the advertising. They were going to use it in a Steve Madden shoe commercial, but it didn't work out. But you see these movies with the old cars. Yeah. Your things, I can hear you. Your screen stopped. I can hear you. I mean, I think you've squeezed enough out of me by now, haven't you? I really enjoyed it, and good luck to you, Tim, with your business and everything else you do. All the best.
Same to you, Lou.
Thank
We'll
you,
be in
Wanda.
touch.
Yeah,
You
send me
bet.
a copy when you put it all together.
Yeah, we sure will. And thank you for all that information.
Yeah.
I learned a
Okay.
ton. I learned a ton.
Are you a
It was
golfer?
no, I've never played the game, but
Okay.
I'm ahead already.
Where are you there with Tim? Are you there in the same place?
No, I'm in Colorado. Tim's in Arizona.
3 states here. Well, good for
Yeah,
you. Wow.
yeah,
But I see the skis. I see the skis there behind you. Are
yes.
you? But
I'm
you're
at
you're
my
not a
daughter's.
golfer.
Yeah, I'm at my daughter's house. I don't ski. They do.
They ski. But do you
I
say you
like
play golf? You
I
like tennis?
tennis.
Tennis
Yeah,
is a
as
great
far as
sport. It's
ball
a great
games.
sport.
Yeah, yeah.
You ever
Thank
come
you.
to New York to go to the Open?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's nice. It's very
Yeah,
cool.
I bet it's
Mm.
very nice. It's fun to
Yeah.
watch on television too.
Oh, it's great, and it's great to be there. Although I think they've overbuilt the place a little bit now. It used to be more park-like. Now it's more concrete and asphalt. But it's
Yeah,
really an amazing event. I don't know if
yeah.
the are you in Denver?
I'm north of Denver in Fort Collins.
Oh, Fort Collins. Yeah, I did some work with the Denver Police Department back in the 1970s. And
Yeah.
we had meetings, USGA meetings up in Aspen. Uh, so
Okay.
that's been a couple of times, but very cool. You're in a very cool part of the country.
Yeah. Well, I think every place has its paradise, you know?
That's true. That's a good way
Yeah.
to look. Well, if you're happy, you can be happy anywhere. What? So, how does this work? How are you involved here? I don't understand what Tim is trying to do. I mean, Tim's an old friend, and so he said, "Let's do it." It's fine with me, but I don't know what
Yeah.
happens here. Do you put this
Oh,
together for him?
well, my part is I am a water um, ranger, a waterkeeper ranger for the state of Florida,
Ah,
and an environmental issue.
But you're in Colorado.
Yeah, that's because Florida waterways have been ruined, and so
Terrible. The Everglades, the most spectacular
yeah,
natural thing. What a
yeah,
tragedy.
and it's so hot. If you can't go in the water, it's not worth being there. So I left ground zero, but still want to fight to change the problem. So um, Tim's will help with his worm turf. It's a non-chemical fertilizer, and he'll be
Yep.
breaking ground, putting it on the golf courses in Florida, and helping the
Oh, I
nitrogen.
see. So you have the connections in Florida to the water. I gotcha. Yep. But why
Yes,
did you? I mean, you were just listening today.
yes, and I have speakers lined up who are environmentalists.
So you're
Can,
helping Tim put these together. Is that what you're?
and
I'm see what I'm
yes,
trying to figure out. What I don't understand what Tim is doing. Is
yeah,
this?
well, he's going to be changing the nutrient pollution in Florida. He
No, I
has a
know. I know what he's.
solution.
No, I know what he's doing
Yeah,
with the worms. What I mean
yeah,
is, what is this podcast thing?
yeah. Well, he has a big solution for the problem in Florida.
No, I
He
know that.
has.
But what is the so? What is? He's going to do a regular podcast?
Well, we're.
You're not involved in the production of the podcast, is what you're telling me.
I'll be involved in every episode. I
Who's going to put the podcast together?
Tim and I.
Oh, okay. Because the way Tim described it was that we would just talk, and then there's going to
Right,
be some editing done, and there's going to be like a production.
right.
Okay,
It's not all about the water
but there's just the two of
and
you.
the environment.
It's the two
Yes.
of you. It's not like there's another person or a professional
Oh
podcast.
yeah, we have a production, a promoter and an editor for our podcast that
Well,
we come
that's
up
what I
with.
was asking. So you're not that. Okay, I got you.
No,
That's what I was saying. I was asking whether you were that organ
yeah,
that thing, but you're not. Okay,
I'm kind of like the audience. I kind of represent the audience in the
okay,
podcast.
yeah. Well, you've been a fine audience as far as I'm concerned. So
Well,
good for
thank you,
you.
sir.
Good, good.
Yeah, you did a
Okay.
great job too. It was a pleasure listening to you.
Well, I hope it works for both you and Tim in one way
Yeah,
or another. And I don't know what kind of listenership you'll end up with, but I hope it's wide ranging and it
it's
helps
a
with the
good
business.
cause.
Okay. Well, all the best to you, and hope you have nice weather out that way.
Yes, thank you, sir. We
Okay.
appreciate you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. How do I get out of here? Leave. There we go.
Push leave.